Andrew Gwynne is sitting in the studio with us. We're going to talk to you now, Andrew, if we can. Hi, and thanks for coming along.
Hello.
Do you expect on your benches, the Labour benches, do you seriously expect to get the Home Secretary scalped tomorrow, realistically?
Well, I think if there was any justice, not just for the Windrush generation, but for others that may well be caught up in similar circumstances, I think it's incumbent on the Home Secretary to do the honourable thing, and that is to resign. Because,
not going to happen, though.
Well, let's be clear. This is a mess that has happened on her watch. I don't accept the defence that because this was an item for noting that she didn't have that memo in her red box. I have worked with Labour Home Secretaries. I was the Parliamentary Private Secretary to Jackie Smith when she was Home Secretary, and I know the level of detail that Home Secretaries go through, and they don't just have items for decision, they have items for noting as well. It's unbelievable, quite frankly, that she did not know that this was her department's policy, and if she didn't know, that in itself raises issues of competency, and she should be held accountable.
Yeah, I mean, you've condemned the Windrush scandal. It is and was a scandal. But then again, who hasn't condemned the Windrush scandal? And I've got a dog, his name's Nelson. I wouldn't be surprised to have him apologising for the Windrush scandal sometimes later on. You've condemned the hostile environment around migration policy. I presume you think the government should apologise for that too?
Well, of course, the problem here is that it is the culmination of wanting to tackle and wanting to be strong on tackling illegal immigration, and then catching into that people who have a legitimate right to be here.
It's the climate caused by being tough on migration, basically.
Absolutely, but when
Andrew, here's a question. Andrew, let me hear this,
when
just
you're
for
dealing
clarity.
with people who have got the status to be here, that is where this has all unravelled very dramatically for the current government.
But your suggestion is the Windrush scandal was a product of the climate that was created, as you say, in the wrong way. Now Labour competed to sound tougher than the Tories on immigration in the years BC, that's before Corbyn. Should Labour apologise for that now, Andrew? And if that's your view, there's your microphone.
Well, we need to have firm and fair migration policies, and that is very clear, and it's clear today that we need to have firm and fair migration and immigration policies. But the issue is, under the last Labour government, this Windrush generation, their status was not in dispute.
But on the climate, the hostile environment,
everybody knew, John, everybody knew that these people were British citizens. They had the right to be here.
There's no dispute about that. There's no dispute about that, at least now. There's no dispute about that.
But the point is, we don't even know whether any or how many, if they have been deported. It's an absolute scandal, and it's a scandal both of Theresa May's making, because let's remember she was the Home Secretary for a period of time in question, but also for Amber Rudd as well.
Well, as far as the treatment of the Windrush generation,
it seems like Amber Rudd's a human shield for Theresa May at the moment.
Well, some do argue that, but at least as far as the Windrush generation's treatment are concerned, you'll struggle to find anyone disagreeing that it was done badly and the whole thing was wrong. But my question to you there was, do you think Labour has anything to answer for, to apologise for, in creating the climate which led to a feeling of hostility around the handling of migration? Does Labour have to apologise to you?
Well, I think we need to have firm and fair immigration policy.
That wasn't my question.
Well, the point is, it has to be firm, it has to be fair, but do we scapegoat migrants for all the policy failures of government, and particularly 8 years of austerity? Absolutely not. And that's where Jeremy Corbyn and Diane Abbott are absolutely right to say we should not be making immigrants the scapegoats for all of the country's ills.
And Andrew, Ed Miliband's former Chief of Staff, Stuart Wood, recently said that actually looking back, having seen Jeremy Corbyn's speech in the House of Commons on the 2014 immigration bill, where he opposed it, a tiny number of Labour MPs opposed it, the party line was to abstain. Do you now regret abstaining?
Yes.
And you personally as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was driving that? Was that some sort of, as has been suggested in the case of this so-called hostile environment, it's about appeasing an anti-migrant feeling?
I mean, the trouble is abstaining, as we've found in other areas where under previous leaders we took that decision, neither pleases nor appeases anybody. Actually, you're much better to come down on one side of an argument or another. I actually don't think abstention is right.
When it comes to campaigning, you're campaigning now in the local elections. There's going to be more campaigns to come. Should and will Labour candidates go to the doorsteps now and start making a case for migration, trying to convince people who have got their doubts about that, deep doubts?
Well, I would hope that that's what we do anyway. We've not said that there should never, ever, in any circumstances...
Of course no one said that. No one said that.
And of course, one of our tests for the Brexit deal is that we want to ensure that there are fair migration rules in place that reflect and respect the needs in the economy at any one time.
But on a lot of Labour doorsteps, as you know very, very well, you'll find people who are worried about migration, who want a tough line on migration, who want, for illegal immigrants, certainly, a hostile environment.
Well, in terms of making sure that we have legal migration and that they match the skills shortages that we have in the economy, that is absolutely crucial. And only by having fair rules in place do you then manage to convince people that who remain to be convinced of the need for immigration, that actually our economy benefits as a consequence.
Joe Tanner.
Do you think this whole saga has potentially made a strong case for Yvette Cooper to be in the shadow cabinet?
Well, I'm a good friend of Yvette's, but that's above my pay grade as to who is in the shadow cabinet and who isn't. That's for Jeremy Corbyn. But Yvette's doing an absolutely...
It's a fantastically egalitarian studio.
Yvette's doing an absolutely superb job as the chair of the Home Affairs Select Committee, and I'm sure that she's quite happy to continue.
Well, how about David Lammy going in the shadow team? He's not a chair of a select committee. He doesn't have that sort of problem.
Well, again, these aren't decisions that I make, Paul. I'm not the leader of the party. Whether I... if I was, whether I...
Don't give up, Andrew. Stranger things have happened. It could still...
But this whole thing has shown...
pitch for it. Could I just make that clear?
This whole thing has shown the strength, though, of the Labour backbenchers. I mean, some of the real stars in terms of the fight and the arguments that have been taken to the House of Commons have actually been from those two individuals.
Oh, we've got some absolutely great Labour MPs on both the front bench and on the back benches.
Yeah. Before you go to the news, because I'm always running over time every time I sit in this chair, but another story, the Sunday Times, you'll have seen it all over its front page. It says that Russia, there were Russian attempts to help Labour in the last election by setting up thousands of social media accounts, pumping out pro-Labour material, trying to influence the election in that way. Just what do you say to that?
Well, I'm not sure how much of a story this really is. I mean, for example, the Russian government made it very clear through the embassy in London of their support for the Conservatives in the 2017 general election campaign. They talked about their ideological convergence, and Theresa May's strong and stable mantra was pumped out by them on Twitter. Let me make it clear. We are incredibly proud of our people-powered social media aspect of the campaign in 2017. I'm not sure if we had the help of all these bots, whether we needed them. We certainly didn't endorse them. We had no knowledge of them. And quite frankly, we didn't need them.
I think that last speech needs to be set to stirring music and run in a campaign. Maybe someone will take me up on that helpful suggestion. Andrew, Gwynne, good to talk to you.